All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to KETIV Virtual Academy. My name is Tyler Hart. I'm with the marketing team involved with running these weekly training and thought leadership sessions. And today we are excited to introduce the topic, Unveiling Autodesk Vault Office. Your experts for today are Phil and Jose. Phil is the data management and data automation manager here at KETIV, and Jose is a data management application engineer. If you have any questions at all during the session, please submit them to the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to address those as they come in or at the end of the session. And if you have a desire for more content, go check out ketiv.com or our YouTube channel. There's a lot more like this that you can get value from. We also want to tease an upcoming series of in-person events coming to a city near you. Our traveling manufacturing innovation workshop will bring together manufacturing leaders like you to connect with each other, reflect on recent developments in technology, workforce management, customer experience, you name it. We're really excited to get back to these in-person events. So keep an eye on your inbox and we will notify you of what's coming close to you. So without further ado, I'll pass things over to Phil and Jose to kick us off. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So you get Phil and I today. We're going to be talking about Vault Office functionality. This actually stemmed from one of our customers having questions about it. More of a, what's it supposed to do? What can it do? And, who should be using it kind of things. So let's jump in here. So I'm Jose Paredes Clara. I'm a data management application engineer here at KETIV. So I work with things such as Vault, Fusion 360 Manage, and Upchain, configuring, assessing, things like that. So if you have any questions on any of those products, you more than likely talk to me. And then we have Phil, who runs our team, previously running just data management, now running data automation as well. So we have new friends that you might see us with on here. So
yes.
You want to give us a little spiel there, Phil?
I think you've done a great job. I don't think I need to add anything to that.
Okay, great to hear. I think even maybe a couple weeks ago, one of Eric Paul did a presentation on iLogic and Inventor. So now that we're on the same team, we'll be working on similar things, working on putting things together. So I'm going to move on here on today's agenda. I touched on it a little bit during the introduction. What is it? What can you do with it? And who should use it? And then at the end, get some questions, hopefully, in your environment, you'll be able to use it and get through it. So what is Vault Office? So it's a part of Vault Professional. It used to be part of Vault Workgroup too, but Vault Workgroup has been sunset, or we've been moving our customers away from Vault Workgroup. So now it's only part of Vault Professional. What makes it different is, is it eligible for Vault Gateway? The answer is yes in this case. For those of you that don't know what Vault Gateway is, it is a way to connect to your Vault without having to VPN into your network, right? So for those of you that don't have access to your internal network, work from home, things like that, you can use Vault Gateway to connect without having to use that VPN. One of the big things here is it gets compared to Thin Client a lot. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Thin Client, it's the read-only viewer that comes with Vault Professional. So make Vault Office being eligible with Vault Gateway gives it a pretty big advantage here, because Vault Thin Client can't do that unless you're VPN'd, right? So with Vault Gateway, you're able to access your data through that client and be able to see it from offsite. And then the last point here is it's non-CAD. right? So Vault Office, think of it like Microsoft Office in a way. That correlation is how I look at it. But you're able to work with data. You're able to work with non-AutoCAD, non-inventor information within your vault. You can still see it, you can still review it, but you'll primarily be working with other types of documentation there.
Just to let them know, Vault Gateway requires an extra license.
Yes, it does. So it's yeah, I believe we did a KVA on that too, right? We talked about Vault Gateway and how to set that up. But yeah, like Phil mentioned, part of that process is having a dedicated user on the server side, kind of keeping that gateway open and allowing users to jump on. Moving on here to the different functions. So like I mentioned, you don't have access to edit any of this data, CAD data, right? But you do have the option to validate and review it. As of 2023 and 2024, Autodesk introduced what's their Forge viewer. So in the past, it used to be design review, where you would it would use design review to open up the DWFs either in your client or in your design review window, and you'd be able to view the data, rotate the information, and in some cases do markups through the tool. But with the Forge viewer, you can do that all within the client and provide comments and information back. A big one here also is participating in the change process. So with Vault Professional, you do have access to ECOs, and the ECO workflows. So, by giving someone a Vault Office license and Vault Office client, they're able to participate, probably not in the work stage. So in that, the actual creation of the CAD data, but they'll be able to be part of the review process, the approval process, and even the the creation of these change orders themselves. You're able to manage project data, so information about the files themselves, so the folder structure, the properties on the folders, on the files. You're able to modify those through the Office client. And again, it's all clerical, all metadata that you're editing, so you're not changing any of the design. Through Vault Office, you're able to communicate with external team members, and this would be either through the ECO process, where people can log in through the gateway, because they're not in your office, they'll still be able to use Vault Gateway to log in. Participate in that ECO process themselves. So if you do need a customer approval, right? A lot of our customers use the review stage in the ECO as customer approval. The design goes out to them, they get to view it, make sure that it fits all the requirements that they requested, and then they're able to be one of the approvals. We do have the option to do unanimous approvals in ECOs. So if, just because the customers want approval, you can still have heads of departments, manufacturing, assembly, be part of that process as well. Because you have access to this data, you're also able to create reports, right? So one of the biggest things about Vault in general is searching. Metadata is available. All this information about your designs is available. What stage is it in? Are there bottlenecks? Things like this. It's very beneficial for a company to be able to see where these bottlenecks are, where, was someone out? Is someone overwhelmed? Is someone, all these things that can help us disperse the workload can be gathered from the reports that you can generate from Vault, right? I know one of the biggest ones is that we have some our customers generate is how long was this ECO in a work state? How long was an engineer working on it? Are all of these the same engineer? Are all of these, do we see that only one engineer is getting assigned some of these changes and things? So this is all, this can all be done from Vault Office. You don't necessarily need a Vault Professional license to generate these reports. And, you can have someone in document control, you can have a department head do these and generate them. Consuming released design data. So again, you do have access to the CAD information and you can view the models. So if you do need to share this with quality, you need to share this with the customer, things like that, they'll be able to view that data once it's been released as well. And then finally, manage non-CAD data. So Word documents, PDFs, things like that. Those are all files that you will have access to through Vault Office. And you'll be able to actually do the checkout and check-in functions through Vault Office for those files. So you'll be able to make the modifications, keep the version history, which we know is one of the other biggest benefits of Vault is traceability and history. You're able to see what changes have happened in the past and when they happened and by whom. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the types of users here. So I did mention one of them is document control. I know in one of our customers' environments, document control was in charge of entering these part numbers into ERP or reviewing the drawing packets to make sure that all the drawings necessary are provided. So in that case, they're using Vault Office to have them, even release the designs through Vault. So they'll review the packet, they'll review the drawings, they'll enter the information into ERP. Once that has been confirmed, they go into Vault and they actually change the lifecycle states of the files to the released state to make sure that they're locked in that revision. I keep touching on this a lot, and even though it does require an extra license, out of office users, and that extra license again comes into play when you're working with that Vault Gateway functionality. But it does give a great benefit for, again, if you wanted to bring in outside vendors, if you wanted to bring in customers, if you wanted to bring in even users outside, working from home, things like that, without the use of a VPN, this allows to do that as opposed to thin client there. And then design reviewers, right? We talked about ECOs. We talked about being able to be part of that process, be able to change project information, change folder structures, change data without changing the design itself. Think of it like similar to form, fit, or function, where you're changing information about the design, but you're not changing the design itself. You can still be part of that process. If you have user groups like that, that aren't changing the CAD data, the CAD model, you can still have them change the information about the project and, any related information such as, assembly instructions. Pretty much. I would say for now, that comes to mind as assembly instructions. Any other information that gets sent out with your product can be modified, can be added through Vault Office. But overall, it's a pretty good tool here. We do have customers, again, that are using it in this environment. One of the other big benefits of this is a Vault Office license is definitely cheaper than a Vault Professional license. The interface itself between Vault Professional clients and Vault Office client, it's identical in there. So you'll have access to the same environments that the professional client does. What does change though is the the menu items. So when you're right clicking to do a get or download the files that are CAD, you won't get that option to check them out, as opposed to when you do it for PDFs, Word documents, and Excel sheets. That's when you'll have the ability to check it out and do that version control history. Do you have any other examples by any chance, Phil, of customers that are using Office, and any scenarios I may have missed?
No, I haven't really dealt with too many of the customers who have Office.
Yeah, it's kind of like the lesser known little brother of Vault Professional Client, which is partly why we're doing this. A lot of our customers don't know about Vault Office or even what it's supposed to do. So we're hoping,
we have both extremes. We have either full Vault or they have the thin client, but Office is rarely used.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for thin client, just to touch on that a little bit more, if all you need is for them to be able to view the data that's released, they're in the office at all times, then thin client would be a good solution for that. They also do get the viewer, but in specific cases like we're talking about here, where they need to do any type of modification, they would Vault Office would definitely be a good way to move forward.
I think a lot of customers would benefit from Office and not have to buy a full license of Vault for a lot of their users.
Definitely. Yeah. One of the biggest, I guess, one of the most recent ones that came to mind was yesterday. Even yesterday, yeah, I was working with a customer that wants to give their IT a Vault Professional Client. But in this case, depending on what they need to do, if they're either just adding documents for the engineering department and things like that, they may not need a full license. So they could use Vault Office for that, or in the case of setting changes, you could do that through the ADMS on the back end. So yeah, it becomes very beneficial and cost saving, I would say, for a lot of our customers to switch over to Vault Office when necessary, or when it's a sufficient enough license.
Jose, would you say there's an engineering department size or company size that you see using this type of solution rather than going like full professional? Is it smaller teams? Is it medium-sized teams?
No, this is not for the engineer. This is for somebody who is just reviewing documents and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, we do have customers whose engineering team is, 1 or 2 people, and their process isn't too mature yet. So there's, scenarios where these, they don't have other outside groups impacting their process. Vault Office wouldn't make sense in those cases because they're not bringing anybody in. But as soon as you start expanding, as soon as you start involving other departments into the design process and require their input, that would be one of the times where you start bringing Vault Office into the mix and having them be a part of the environment. And a lot of those smaller customers, smaller companies, they do get away with using Vault Basic because they are tracking, just version history. It's a repository for their files. But once they start developing their release process, once they start developing their revision control of their designs, that's when you start moving into Vault Professional maybe, and then, add on Vault Office, add on Vault Thin Client, sharing all of the design data once it's been released. Those are all good use cases for Vault Office. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and move forward here. Again, today's KVA was just to bring light again to Vault Professional's little brother, Vault Office. make sure that you guys are aware of what you can do. It is a pretty robust tool. It does take away from that CAD data modification, but overall, the abilities that Vault Office has definitely add benefit to engineering teams' workflows. So, any questions that I can answer for anybody in the crowd? We can go ahead and take a look here.
No questions so far.
Yeah. Anything from YouTube by any chance, Tyler?
Nothing from YouTube. Like you said, Jose, if anybody has questions about this, definitely reach out. support@ketiv.com. There's a phone number. Anywhere on our website, you can find more information or speak to an expert. A lot of great experts here who are always happy to help, just like Jose and Phil here. So looks like we did have one question come through. How is the transition from Vault Professional to Vault Office? How easy would it be for someone using Vault Professional to switch to Office? Or would they even do that?
That's a good question. Yeah. So in the cases where, a Vault Professional license was given to someone who now, we realize needs a Vault Office, their environment is just a question of uninstalling the Vault Professional client and installing the Vault Office one. But their login, their, credentials, everything stays the same. Just their functionality would change on the new client. So, it's a pretty easy transition. There's nothing that you need to install on the Vault server side. So it's just available, out of the box when Vault gets configured. So for the user themselves, you wouldn't see much of a change there.
Got it. I think this might be. There's a couple that are similar here. So with Vault Office, is a user able to send a job to the job processor, such as creating a step file from a model?
So in that case, during the release process, so if you're sending it through life cycles, you'd be able to trigger a job through the job processor. As far as manually sending a step file, that option doesn't show up because it is related to the CAD data itself. So, in a way, yes and no. You'd be able to trigger a step file through the release, but not manually like you see in Vault Professional, where a step file can be generated. And then
Awesome. How are permissions, roles, and groups handled in Office versus Professional?
So permissions, roles, and groups would be handled identically. I guess you have the same permissions, you have the same roles. What ends up being different is the functionality of the client. So typically you would handle the permissions, the groups through a Vault Professional client, unless the user in Vault Office has administrator access, right? Which typically might not be the case. But even, in a scenario where a Vault Office user has the role slips my mind, right? If they get the role that says they can modify CAD, but they're using Vault Office's functionality would stop that or prohibit that modification of the CAD. So, they work hand in hand. A lot of the times when working with roles and permissions inside of Vault, the most limiting role takes, or the most limiting permission takes precedent, right? So explicit denies are ones that I always talk about, where you can have 30 things saying that you can do it, but if you have one that explicitly says it's denied for anything in any group that you're a part of, that one takes precedent. So it's just a balance there, finding what they'll need and what they can use.
Fantastic. Also, really good questions. One more from Daniel here. Does this mean that users using Vault Office cannot check out CAD models and drawings?
Correct. Yeah. So they don't even have that option for design files. When you right click on a CAD file, it doesn't give you that option in that menu. As opposed to if you right click on a PDF Word document, that's where you'll be able to check those out.
Fantastic questions from Michael and Daniel. Awesome. It looks like that's what we have for now. Jose and Phil, again, thank you so much for your time today. Lots of great content on our website and on youtube.com. And join us again next week, Thursday, for more content like this. Looking forward to having everybody back.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.